So, welcome, Sally, to this live session again. So, you were just sharing something. If you don't mind sharing that and being recorded, and then I'll just speak to that, some learning for everyone.
I was just saying that yesterday was a very up and down day where I'd swinging from sad and lonely to peace and calm. And there was times of being unattached to everything, and like the earth didn't exist, the walls didn't exist. But then I felt a little bit odd in it. It didn't feel quite right until I kind of came back to the body and viewed it through the body. So yeah, a very strange day yesterday. And then this morning woke up on an absolute high and had a download phrase that meant a lot to me.
Can we share that?
There is no suffering. It's all in my mind. There is only love. And I could so experience it when the words don't do it justice, but the experience was there's absolutely no suffering. It's an absolute illusion. And that it is just love, and it's literally all in my mind. And it was just that experience of it. Yeah, really felt just phenomenal this morning. And I was just, saying how amazing you can have that one of those days yesterday where it was really up and down and like, oh, this feels really, really odd. And then today it's like feel perfect alignment and inflow and fantastic understanding. So yeah, over to you. What you want to say about that?
Well, I'd say that's how it goes on this journey of awakening, the hero's journey, whatever you want to call it. You're going to have ups and downs and many different kinds of experiences, which are all different. It's moving you out of your comfort zone into another experience, and as you shift, it can feel a bit strange. It can feel weird because it's all unfamiliar. You haven't had these experiences before, so you're going into the unknown in your experience. Although your life, you're still living in the same house, you're still doing the same thing. It's your experience is transforming. I'm just going to share the screen so we can bring up the hero's journey, because I'll speak to that very briefly. So this known world is the world of your existing known perceptions, how you normally perceive the world based on the ego's belief system. And so as you shift out of that into the unknown, life becomes, it doesn't necessarily mean you go anywhere physically. That can happen, but in your case, you're in the same place, you are living the same, you're probably doing much the same kind of things, and yet your whole experience is changing. So now this is the unknown world, because perception is shifting and changing. And so that's happening because you're advancing on the path. And every time it happens, it's almost like a microcosm. So this is both a long-term or medium-term kind of diagram over a time span of maybe several years, and it could also be just one day. Okay, so I go through an experience, there's some challenge, there's some temptation, I let that go. So there's a transformation, there's a difficulty, there's a transformation. On the other side, I feel more at one. And so it's a mini version of the whole awakening experience. The diagram applies both to our lives, a sequence of events, and it also can apply just in one day. Whenever you're shifting, you face a challenge, a temptation, and you let it go. That's the miracle. And then there's a transformation in your mind, in your perception, and there's inevitably at the end of that more sense of at-one-ment, which is the whole point, that you come to a sense of actually everything's okay, everything's in alignment. So I've been through the difficulty, and then I come out the other side and I feel really, really centered, grounded in the oneness. And then, tomorrow might be different again. You go through another set of challenges and temptations. There's a letting go. And, if you keep doing that, you're really on the fast track to awakening, because every day you're learning, you're expanding your experience, you're going into the unknown, you're letting go of of the ego's thought system, and you're restoring your mind to this place of oneness. So it's quite a nice model that you can use both for the medium term of your life, say a few years, as well as daily. Okay, yes, daily challenges and temptations, bit of difficulty. Okay, but I'm going to let it go. And then there's a rebirth. So the miracle is a little rebirth into the other self, the higher self, the one self, the Christ, whatever you want to call it. And a transformation's taken place, and a shift in perception, and you then see that situation differently, and you're a bit different. Your experience is different, and your self-concept has maybe just changed slightly in that through that miracle. And that's how you learn to know yourself again, through these corrections, these miracles, in the Course of Miracles terminology, perceptual shifts. It's all part of the process. So yeah, thanks for sharing that, and just keep doing it. And it's normal, accept that these kinds of experiences start to become your new normal. So okay, yeah, I'm having expanded experiences all the time because you're doing the work, and I am shifting, and it is going to feel sometimes uncomfortable, because I mean, you're letting go of an entire reality, body, and the personal identity and perceptions of this world. It's a quite a radical process. Yeah, so keep going. just keep on. Say, okay, well, challenge, temptation. Okay, the answer is always to let go, and on the other side of this, I'll come out of it, and there'll be more clarity and more light, more peace, more joy. And the more you do that, the more you trust the process. Yeah, there's always a resolution. I can always do the letting go and come out and see differently, and see the light instead of whatever challenge and temptation I'm going through.
I wondered if it had anything to do with I think it was on Friday when I said, oh, let's just do this awakening thing. Let's just bring it on.
Yeah, well,
and then
yeah, absolutely.
When it actually happened, I went, oh no, not all.
I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure, but that's in the expanded hero's journey, the resistance to the core, refusal of the core, is one of the steps. I think it's step 3. The core, oh no, I'm not so sure about that now. Because all very well, in your good mode, oh yeah, bring it on, come on, we can be kind of gung-ho, and then, whoa, okay, I'm actually now really struggling to deal with these challenges and temptations. And the ego goes, oh no, we don't want challenge, we don't want temptation. Just go back to how you were, go back to the known world. It was okay. And it's going to tell you a story about that and say it was a lot better than it was. And you'll forget the dissatisfaction, and you'll forget the longing and the yearning for something more. So it's just to remember in those moments that actually, this is normal. This is part of the journey. You signed up for it. You said, I'm up for this. And so whatever comes along, you accept as part of the awakening process. So it's an all-encompassing paradigm for your life. Whatever comes along, whatever experience you have, is part of the awakening. It's part of this awakening journey. Everything has a function. That function is as Yeshua says, one of his lessons, that function is salvation. Salvation is my only function here. Salvation or awakening is your only function. So everything is now perceived within that framework. Everything is part of this awakening process. So there's no experience that then falls outside of that. And so everything can be there to help you, to help you learn a lesson, to help you let go of a belief that doesn't serve you, to help you shift into a more enlightened perception, to change your self-concept. Everything is happening for you for that reason. And now that gives your life the only purpose it really has. There's no other meaning and purpose to a human life than that.
And for me, it's to remember not to resist it, to sit with it, be with it, experience it. sometimes the instinct is to stop the uncomfortable feeling.
Yeah, that's, the ego doesn't want you to go into the unknown ever. So there's always that resistance, the threshold guidance. That's why I said this is almost like a daily, okay, call to adventure, something's happening. Do I resist it? Oh, okay, maybe there's a bit of resistance, but I can break through that. I can really look at it. I can experience the discomfort. I can do a letting go process. You said you were doing the instrument for peace, which works well. You could do a breath break or a longer meditation. You could do the 10-step letting go process. And so you work through it, and then you find, okay, I've gone through a bit of there was a bit of a death there of something, some belief, some part of my ego, and then I come out the other side. I'm like, oh, actually, I'm feeling really, quite peaceful and happy now. And that can all happen in the space of a few hours. And you cycle through that, and then you return, and you bring the gifts of the goddess to whoever you happen to interact with that day. You might see someone at a walk, or your housemates, or whatever, and you bring that expanded awareness, or you share it with our little community by these sessions. And so there's in a day there's a cycle that you just done of that, which if you keep doing that day by day by day, in the bigger picture, you're cycling through that hero's journey and going to the ultimate stage of the collapse of the ego, the abyss, which is when the ego fights its last battle, takes its last stand, and there's a final letting go. Okay, I'm done with this. I really, deeply at the very core of my being know that I am the Christ, I am the one self, that I'm one with the source, the Father, the pure formless awareness of perfect love. And you have that experiential knowledge, and that's the enlightened state. And then the rest of your life would simply be playing out the dream in a happy dream. And generally you'd be called to try and give some of this knowledge to other people. So that's the return, and that then becomes your purpose in the world. Okay, well, how can I share this knowledge and help others to awaken to the same truth I've awoken to?
And I was very aware yesterday how ego doesn't want us to meditate or sit down with it. It can be that battle, can't it? Like the ego says, no, you don't want to meditate. No, don't sit with it. No. It was just like so clear. It's like, I've still got to, regardless how much you're fighting me, I've still got to sit still with it. And then there's the moments it's handy to have somebody around and talk you down, isn't it? And go, no, it'll pass. It's all right. You're just,
Well, well, that's the beauty of these live sessions. But if we're not having one on the day, immediately you could always reach out to someone in the community. A number of them anyway. So you just go, well, are you okay? I just need to have a quick chat and talk it through, and just someone reminding you who's not in that position at the time can be very helpful. So okay, well, just remember, these are the principles, and the principles apply. We study principles because they apply without exception. That's the whole point. So when you're in a difficulty, you don't make exceptions, although you're tempted to. You go, remember, the principles are the principles, and these always apply because the truth is always true. So it doesn't matter what the ego is throwing at you in terms of temptation. Temptation is just a temptation to make an exception, isn't it? I'll make an exception in this case because the ego's created some story about why this particular situation is more difficult or challenging than others, and you can't apply this. There's no way you can just meditate or let it go. No, this is this is somehow different. And so that's what you got to be aware of. Be aware of the temptation to make exceptions. Hold to the principle. Okay, look, no matter what, the truth is true. These principles hold, no matter what the experience is. As difficult as it may be to let go, the principle of letting go always applies because the truth is always true. This is what Yeshua is saying. And as you do that, you start learning, well, the truth is always true as you apply it. The truth is always true. And actually, it always works in every situation. I'll always get a shift in my perception, irrespective of what happens in the external world. Something perceptual will change. My mind will change, and that's that's the real miracle. And we'll go to the integral model. Have a quick look at that. So it's this inside outside. So you start to more and more identify with this, the intentional domain. So the shift is all in my mind. Suffering is in my mind. So I collapse it there, and then whatever shows up on the level of behavior, of form, shows up, and that's fine. I'm not trying to control that. My sole job, the sole responsibility of the miracle worker, says Yeshua, is to accept the at-one-ment for himself or herself. So the at-one-ment is accepting that you are one with your source, and you are one with all extensions of the source, which is all of your brothers or companions, and every living creature. That's the primary responsibility. And then what shows up on the level of form is very secondary. Okay, well, whatever shows up, because I've shifted. And if I'm inspired to take an action, then I take the action, or I say something, or I do something, and that's the external aspect. But you become more and more focused on, okay, it's all about my perception. That's primary, and the secondary behavior will take care of itself, because perception governs behavior, as we can see from the instrument for peace diagram. Perception governs the behavior. Where are we? Okay, so let's just bring this up. To bring these up as standard, really, just like reference documents. So what's governing perception is belief, thought, emotion, and then perception, how you perceive something, is going to govern your actions, isn't it? You're going to make certain decisions, you're going to take certain actions based on perception. So that's how then our life on the level of form unfolds in this perceptual realm. But what drives it is thought, emotion, and perception, which are all internal. Okay, so anything else to share? Any other comments, questions on that?
No, that's it.
All right. Let's have a look at today's quote. A bit of teaching on that, perennial philosophy, and then we'll go into the lesson. And there's 20 paragraphs of text today, so I'm not sure we'll get through all of it, but we'll give it a go. Let's see how we do. It's a bit of a monster today. Yesterday was 3. It was like really short. So, okay. Then it's a 20 paragraph monster. Okay, so if you read the quote.
I have a body, but I am not my body. I can see and feel my body, and what can be seen and felt is not the true seer. My body may be tired or excited, sick or healthy, heavy or light, but that has nothing to do with my inward I. I have a body, but I am not my body. I have desires, but I am not my desires. I can know my desires, and what can be known is not the true knower. Desires come and go, floating through my awareness, but they do not affect my inward I. I have desires, but I am not desires. I have emotions, but I'm not emotions. I can feel and sense my emotions, and what can be felt and sensed is not the true feeler. Emotions pass through me, but they do not affect my inward I. I have emotions, but I am not emotions. I have thoughts, but I am not thoughts. I can know and intuit my thoughts, and what can be known is not the true knower. Thoughts come to me and thoughts leave me, but they do not affect my inward I. I have thoughts, but I am not my thoughts. By Ken Wilber.
So any thoughts on that? We looked at this about 3 weeks ago.
What was coming to mind was the clip you shared about the commentary on the film Bliss, and how David Hoffmaster, he was like saying everything's an illusion. Like he was like saying long marriage, short marriage, both an illusion. Eat or not, both an illusion. Eat organic or preservatives, both an illusion. Equally an illusion. And as I was reading that, I kept hearing him say it. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, strong emotions, weak emotions, both an illusion. Desire to eat, an illusion. Body, small body, big body, illusion. Yeah.
That's why there's no order of difficulty in miracles.
Yeah.
Because they're all the same. It's like there's two categories. There's illusion and there's truth. So it doesn't matter what's happening in the illusion. It may seem to be very big and important, or fairly trivial, but it's the same thing. It's all illusion. It's not, none of it's real. And so it takes a long time to really get your head around that.
Yeah.
That's why there is no order of difficulty in miracles. People go, okay, what does that even mean? I don't even understand what a miracle is. Never mind, there's no order of difficulty. So you have to study the whole course. Like, okay, I'm getting what he's saying. That it's truth or illusion, and so all illusions are illusions. It doesn't matter how big or small they seem to be. All feelings that are not pure formless awareness of perfect life are illusion. All thoughts and feelings. This is what and that's quite radical. It's like, wow, pretty much everything I've been thinking and feeling in my life is not really true. Wow, my entire experience is an illusion. So who am I then, really? What is reality? These it calls it all into question, and the ego feels very, very unstable. It's like, well, I've been kind of rumbled, and my entire world is shifting, and so you kind of feel that instability. Whoa, like as you said, I think you felt unstable yesterday. It's like, whoa, what's happening? Am I, what seemed to be a solid foundation of reality in this world, suddenly that's actually not solid, and it's like shifting under your feet, like an earth tremor happening, and that feels uncomfortable. It's not comfortable. But he's saying you have an upside down thought system. It's a false sense of security that you've built upon an illusion, and so that has to change. You're going to have to go through that uncomfortable feeling of instability, because the ego is not a stable foundation. Saying it's an illusion is not a stable foundation that you can rely on. So an upside down thought system is not stable, and in temporarily the equilibrium may be disturbed, but that's just part of the the process that you've got to go through. So yeah, this particular quote I'm thinking of. Upside down. See if we can do upside down. What happens? Yeah, there we go. That's exactly the one I want. Perfect. An upside down thought system. Now I've got to find it somewhere here. Where was it? 5. Wholeness and spirit. So as these false underpinnings are given up, the equilibrium is temporarily experienced as unstable. Do you want to read that and then the rest of it?
However, nothing is less stable than an upside down orientation, nor can anything that holds it upside down can be conducive to increased stability. Yeah. That's definitely what I've been feeling. It's like when you have an earth, the earth you always thought supported you, and it's not there, like I had yesterday. I also had that understanding also that it was an illusion at the same time, that it was ever there. Yeah, I get it. Ego is unstable. I know, but it just seems so real sometimes, doesn't it? It's like if you're in a long-term relationship with somebody, say you've been married for 30 years, it feels like a stable, ongoing situation.
Yeah.
But actually, you're just telling yourself the same illusion every day of your life for 30 years. And then suddenly when it's there, it feels a bit discombobulating at first because you've had an illusion dissolve. But actually, it was never real.
It never was stable. So I mean, look at the Queen is a great lesson, really, because it was like 70 years. You had this one queen, so the stability, right? Everyone's like, okay, we had the one queen. Okay, well, we can rely on it. The Queen's still the Queen. We get up every day, and most British citizens, the Queen's been the Queen for their entire life. If you're under 70, then that's the case. But it's an illusion of stability, because at some point she's not going to be the Queen. So 70 years, seems to be a long time in our human perception. but it's not really a long time. And like in the whole of time, it's a tiny tick of time. It's just like, oh, 70 years goes by, and that will be recorded as, Queen Elizabeth reigned from whatever it was, 1952 to 2022, and a little footnote, and in 100, 200 years, she'll be another one of the monarchs, and there we go, 70 years, and that 70 years, people live their entire life in that, and it's just a footnote in history, right? Queen Elizabeth II reigned from 1952. And so, from that perspective, you go, well, how stable was any of it? It seemed during the time that it was stable, but actually it's really not. It's all going to change, because everything here is going to fade away and die. This is what Yeshua is saying. So how can you rely on that as a basis for stability? It might last for a while, but sooner or later, it's going to change, guaranteed. And it's going to fade away and die. No one lasts forever. Nothing living here lasts forever. So what an illusion to base any kind of stability on. Is there really any stability on a thought system where, well, you guaranteed that things are going to change, and you guaranteed that ultimately everything here dies? Is that a basis for any kind of reality, really? And it's, when you look at it in those stark terms, it's very obvious that it's not. Compare that with eternal life that doesn't change, never changes, eternal. I mean, the ego can't even get its head around that, get its mind around that. It's like it doesn't understand eternity because it's denied it. How can it understand it when its whole existence is based on time? So the best the ego can do is say, oh, it's going to last a long time, 70 years, that's stable. But compared to eternity, that's a poor substitute, isn't it? So then we feel the emotion of, oh, our stability's just been rocked, and then we feel sad. But the sadness is only because we were falsely identified with an illusion. And we thought it gave us security, and then it proves that it doesn't. Because even that stable illusion of, let's say, a queen for 70 years or a long-term relationship for 30 or 40 years is an illusion. It didn't last. So was it ever really a basis for any kind of security? The truth is it wasn't. The only security is pure formless awareness of perfect love, God, spirit, whatever you want to call it, that is permanent, that's eternal, that never changes. The fundamental awareness without which you would have no life. That's the only thing you can rely on that never changes. And that's all Yeshua is saying. That's all every spiritual master has ever said. Look, this is the one thing you can rely on. That's never going to change. So why don't you go there and put all your attention and your focus on that? Because that's the one thing that's not going to let you down, ever. Everything else is going to let you down. So why would you value it if it's going to let you down? This is what he's saying to us over and over. Why would you value what's ultimately valueless? It's going to let you down and disappoint you over and over again. This is not smart. You need to start seeing what's really going on here in order to make the better choices about where you put your attention and your belief. And putting it into an upside down thought system and trying to find stability there is not a good use of your mind. You're much better off saying, okay, I'll go through the discomfort of turning an upside down thought system right side up, and that's going to be uncomfortable. But at least now I'm basing my life on something that's not going to change. It's changeless and timeless and universal and constant. And so yes, there's going to be shift and change and vacillation while I'm doing that. But ultimately, this is the one thing that I can rely on. So let me base my life on that rather than on the shifting, changing upside down thought system of the ego that will disappoint me over and over and over again. And a lot of people don't want to see this. So you say, I remember I was on my Scottish trip, someone said, oh, well, actually my life's quite okay now. And I said, well, I can assure you, that it's not going to stay that way. And she said, oh, well, this is the doom and gloom. That's really negative. But it's just the truth. It isn't going to stay that way. It's obvious. It's not going to stay that way forever. So if you think that offers you some kind of stability, then you're delusional. It's an upside down thought system. It is going to change by absolutely by definition in time and space. It's not going to stay the same. And you are going to age, and you are going to, think challenges are going to come up, and eventually you're going to die. That's just how it goes in the human life. So if you don't want to see that, you're burying your head in the sand and not really seeing this reality, illusory as it is. You're not seeing it for what it is. You're deluding yourself. So Yeshua is asking us to be very honest, almost like brutally honest. Okay, let's really look at this thought system and the reality that's produced and judge it fairly. And if you do that, then you're calling on the Holy Spirit, the remembrance of perfect love, to judge it for you. You're going to make the correct judgment, which is that none of this is meaningful. None of this really exists. And you're willing to let it all go. You don't want any part of an illusion, because it's all the same, and it's all just been very disappointing forever. This is every lifetime you've had has been disappointing because you're in an illusion. How can you expect that to work? So Ken Wilber just highlights this in the quote. He's talking about the body, and he's talking about desires, and he's talking about emotions, and he's talking about thoughts. And all these things he's saying are temporary, right? These are temporary movements in your mind, none of which are permanent. This is not the knower. What can be known by true awareness is not the knower, right? There's something else now. You can be aware from the pure formless awareness of this something else. That something else then clearly is not the truth. Only the pure formless awareness that is that awareness that's aware is the truth. And that's beyond emotion and beyond thought and beyond the body and beyond all of your egoic desires. And that's why we call it pure formless awareness of perfect love. There's really, how else do you describe it? It's just a pure formless awareness. And perfect love is the sense that there's only that oneness, there's only that awareness, there's nothing else going on, no other awareness, no other thoughts, no other emotions, no other sense perceptions, no desires, no body, there's nothing else going on, just that awareness. And the ego, of course, finds that terrifying because it's the end. There is no ego in that pure formless awareness. And this is the essence of what Ken Wilber, what he's expressed there, is the essence of what's come to be known as the perennial philosophy, because it's a timeless universal truth that all the great spiritual teachings and teachers have taught throughout the ages. It's the foundation of every religion, of every spiritual path. This perennial philosophy, they're really just saying that there's another world. There's something else beyond our limited sense perceptions and our thoughts and our emotions. So this quote, it's actually a quote from Eckhart Tolle that I paraphrased, is a good description of what the perennial philosophy is. So if you want to read that.
You are not your thoughts, emotions, sense perceptions, and experiences. You are not the content of your life. You are the pure formless awareness that underlies the body and all your sense perceptions, as well as all the thoughts and emotions that they seem to cause. You are the essence of life itself, the essence of the eternal now moment. And ultimately, you are simply what cannot be named or described. Yeah.
And that's really the essence of the perennial philosophy, saying there's something else, another dimension that transcends all of this, the body, the thoughts, the emotions, that is ineffable. You can't really describe it. It's just, in the end, it's a pure experience. And we can call that experience bliss or pure consciousness or love or oneness or peace. In the end, those names don't really, they just point to it. It's a pure experience. And so that's where you're going. This is then the mystic understanding of the truth. And it's experiential as you're starting to become more aware. This is not a conceptual journey. Yes, there's some basic concepts you need to understand. It's truth and illusion, but in the end, it becomes experiential. Okay, I'm experiencing the truth, and it's difficult to even put it into words. How do you frame that? How do you put that into words? The words don't really do the experience justice. which is why in the end, the spiritual journey has to be undertaken. You have to walk the path. You have to experience it. There's no shortcutting it. Enlightenment is not like okay, well, here's a cookie cutter approach. Here are the concepts. Learn those, and then you're done. This is what religion's done. Okay, well, just do this and this and this, and then you'll be saved. Well, it doesn't work that way. It has to be in your own experience, which isn't as neat, and you can't just package it and go, right, there's a package deal, and if you believe in this, great, you'll be saved. Jesus Christ will save you if you believe X, Y, and Z. I mean, that's just not how it works, and anyone who believes that is delusional.
When I was watching the film Bliss on Saturday, I got halfway through when he was just about to take the drugs to leave the known world. And the woman said, he's asked the woman, is it safe? And she went, well, I can't remember what the reply was, sort of.
Sort of.
And I had to stop the film. And I thought, so do I really want to have full enlightenment? And I went off and did some other things and cooked tea and things, pondering it. Am I really ready to do that? And I did a little bit of work on that before I continued watching the film and listening to the commentary of it, because it was like, as much as we do this work, are we really up for it? There's some resistance. There was definitely some resistance in me. It was like, well, maybe not just yet, maybe in a, and so I went something, and then I came back and went, no, okay, I'm ready. And that was the first time I've ever watched a film. I have had some stuff come up in other films, but it was the first time I really understood the film watching thing, that shows up your dark side so you can let it go during the film. I've been enjoying recently watching the Course in Miracle recommendations for films, but it's the first time it really really is bringing up stuff for me.
Oh, well, that's good. That's always good to get people's experiences. The idea of the movie watching is that it does do that. You see these characters playing out the dream. There's a kind of a resonance. You go, okay, well, yes, they're being asked to make a choice for another reality in that movie. Am I willing to make that choice? Is it safe? The ego tells you, is that safe? Well, I mean, as who was it? Cypher in the Matrix. Neo's going like, what's going to happen? You're going, just buckle your seatbelt, Dorothy, because Kansas is going bye-bye. Your whole reality just about to implode, and know that that's going to be an intense experience. Is it safe? Well, what's safe? Is it safe to hold on to a delusional reality that's upside down, and be guaranteed that in that you're going to suffer and you're going to die? Is that really safe? The ego is going to tell you that's safety, but in the end, it's very dangerous, because you're going to suffer and you're going to die. It's a guarantee. So this is saying, are you willing to really go for this? Are you willing to walk the path that the authentic teachers and masters like Yeshua and the Buddha and Lao Tzu, people have walked this path before? Are you willing to go there and give it your all? Say, okay, I'm willing to commit everything to this. This is there's no holding back here. In this lifetime, I'm not going to hold back anything. I'm going for the whole kahuna. And that's quite a decision to make. It's not a trivial decision. I mean, you're saying, yes, I'm leaving this whole thing behind. My human self, this reality. Like, I've had times I'm going, wow, that's hectic. That's like, this is, it's not a game. Well, it's ultimately all illusion, but you're kind of playing for keeps. You know what I mean? I think before, when I started on this path, it was more like, oh, okay, well, you can play in spirituality and it's nice. You get a kind of a little special identity, because you can become a teacher and that and all this kind of stuff. And then when you really get down to the core of it, you go, wow, what is it asking me to do? It's asking me personally, forget anyone else, it's asking me to make the decision to collapse all of this, to let this all go. I'm no longer human. I no longer have any kind of separate existence. I'm going into the oneness, and that's going to be my eternal reality. Whoa, That's a pretty intense realization for most people. When you're first starting to have it, you go, whoa, okay. And if it doesn't cause you to think a little bit, then you haven't really understood the magnitude of that choice. It's a huge choice. It's the ultimate choice. I'm no longer Sally. I'm no longer in this world. I no longer have any kind of separate experience. This entire reality just disappears. So yeah, if it brought up, okay, if it brought you to the point of choosing, you had to go away, make a cup of tea, think about it. You went, yes, okay, I'm up for this. That's the whole point, isn't it? The movie is doing its job to make you choose. Okay, yes, I choose enlightenment, no matter what. I don't know what the experiences are going to be. Yes, all kinds of stuff can happen. I don't know, but I'm trusting the process. I'm trusting it. Ultimately, this hero's journey is a done deal. Because the spirit is going to guide me through this, and I will transcend, because that's what it's there to do. The Holy Spirit's job is to return you to heaven, to the state of pure fullness, awareness, of perfect love, and nothing else. But that requires some. When you're stuck in the ego, trying to undo it, that requires quite a lot of faith, doesn't it? To go, yeah, okay, I understand. That's how it is. That is the ultimate truth, and it doesn't matter what I'm going through now. That's the end destination. I have faith in that. So yeah, I'm pleased the movie did that for you. Sort of, I just asked. I didn't know what. It's like I asked for guidance. It's like, we're talking about bliss. How about the idea of bliss? So then I Google bliss. There's a bliss movie. Oh, there's a David Hoffman. Okay, great. And it's kind of a metaphysical movie, and there's because it brings all these issues to the fore. Which reality do I choose? And those kinds of movies are interesting, mind-watching movies. Okay, so should we carry on? So the perennial philosophy. Let me read that.
So the perennial philosophy is teaching that your true self, your true identity and reality is formless, timeless spirit or awareness, which has been called many things by different teachers and religions. God, Yahweh, Jehovah, Allah, Brahma, Teo, or is it Deo? I never know.
I actually say it Tao.
Tao.
T is actually a D, yeah. Tao.
And more
again, it's a name, it's a pointer.
Yeah, and more recently by modern philosophers, the ground of being. But as Lao say, the Chinese sage whose philosophy is the basis of Taoism?
Taoism.
Yeah, that's it. I've heard that. When you read it to yourself all the time, you say it how you want to say it. It's only when you come to say it out loud, you go, well, it doesn't sound right.
Yeah.
Said in the Dao De Ching.
Tao Te Ching. Tao Te Ching.
Yeah. Oh, can't even say.
Maybe I need to spell it with a D. I spelled it with a T because that's what most people are familiar with.
Yeah.
And they might go, D, what does it actually mean? But it's the same
right,
thing.
But it doesn't sound right.
They recently revised all of the Chinese, what was said as a T, they realized, well, actually in Chinese, they'd say it with a D. So why did they translate it with a T to start with? I don't know. That was someone decided to use a T instead of a D for whatever reason way back when.
It's too confusing. Now we've said it so many different ways, I'm confused. The Dao.
Well, exactly. It can be described as not the Tao.
Yeah, or Tao. Yeah, the Tao that can be described is not the eternal Tao. The name that can be spoken is not the eternal name. Yeah, what's in a name? Hey, but you've got to call it something, haven't you?
Well, yeah, because we're using language to discuss it, to point to it. So you need some kind of name. But in the end, it's this quote is saying that's not what it is. It's not a name. You can't frame what's eternal and infinite in a name. It's an experience. It's a pointer that can be helpful. We're discussing it. We call it the Tao. We call it pure formless awareness of perfect love. And ultimately, the pointer is only helpful if it brings you more of that experience of what it actually is, which is why we translate. We translate the word God, because pure formless awareness of perfect love is a more helpful pointer to bring you the experience of the state, so that you're experiencing more of this, and then it becomes experientially known. Yes, I know God because it's in my experience, not because there's some kind of concept in my mind and I'm worshiping some kind of idea in my mind. This is how most people worship God. It's an idea in their mind, that's all. When they've been told, this is God and there's the concept, and it's been framed for them in some religious tradition, and they go, right, now I go and I worship that. And it's ridiculous because there's no experience of it. It's a conceptual. It's not really knowledge at all. It's intellectual, conceptual, but not experiential. Because if you really experience it, why do you need someone to tell you what it is? You know it for yourself. So that's the difference between the mystics and formal religion and theologians, and anyone who's not relying on their own experience. It's a second hand. It's like a learned. Okay, I can learn the concepts. I can speak the speak, but experientially, do I know this? Have I experienced it? No. Do I really know it? No, I don't know anything. It's why Yeshua, it's recorded in the Bible that he would speak to the scribes, the Pharisees and the Sadducees, who would, they'd studied the Torah and they knew their stuff intellectually and conceptually. But he comes along and experientially he knows it. And they go, whoa, like, where are you coming from? That's like an insight, we just don't get. So he says things like, before Abraham was, I am. And they go, what do you mean? Because they're thinking in time. How's that possible? You're saying you lived before Abraham in time, but that's not what he means. He's talking about two different dimensions there in the one sentence. Before Abraham was in time, I am transcends it. I am is the eternal presence that has always existed. So I am as well, was before Abraham was. It's the eternal presence. And they don't get it because they haven't experienced that. So they don't understand what he's saying. And then they think he's blaspheming because he's saying, I existed before Abraham on the timeline. They don't understand it because they haven't experienced it themselves. Okay? So there's the Tao Te Ching if you want to download it and read it. It's a very short little PDF, but you'll see if you read it that a lot of the course principles are in there. It's the same teaching, really, just in another spiritual tradition.
Okay, the above quotes from 3 different spiritual teachers who lived in very different times, about 2,500 years apart, should give you a flavor of the perennial philosophy, which is very much in alignment with the teachings of Yeshua in the Course in Miracles, as he himself acknowledges in this passage from the clarification of terms. A universal theology is impossible, but a universal experience is not only possible, but necessary.
So there he's saying, this theology isn't going to get you there, and it's impossible. No one's going to agree on the theological concept of God, but a universal experience is what this is aimed towards. And if you look at the universal experience of various mystics throughout the ages, it seems to be a pretty universal experience. They all experience oneness. They all experience, peace, love, joy, a deep contentment, being rooted in the present moment. This is the universal experience. It's come to be known as the perennial philosophy. And so this is necessary, that we all come to the same experience, because in the end, the truth, pure formless awareness of perfect love, is experiential. We come to the same experience and we rest in that same experience together as the one self, as the one awareness that we are. So yes, of course, a universal experience must be necessary if at-one-ment is going to happen. Okay, then there's an ebook. So if you want to have a little read of the Perennial Philosophy by Aldous Huxley, there's some exploration of that. And that brings us to today's lesson. So have a little look at that. Lesson 219. I am not a body, I am free. which is what we've been saying for the last 19 days.
But every day it sounds different. So that's good, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, that's a hallmark. The perennial philosophy is characterized by the idea that there's these deeper levels of significance, and that you can always go into the deeper levels of significance. It's never a flat. Oh, okay, I get it. So that's it. I've got that. It's like the more you study it, the more it reveals itself, and so you can never really get bored of it. It's like, I'm not a body, I'm free. Okay, well, because that just that simple couple of sentences can take you into a different experience every day. So that's also what characterizes truth, is deeper levels of significance, and you can study it over and over and over again, the same words, and it can give you a different experience every time, and a deeper experience. And that's how you know that it's true. And it's whereas if you study or read something that's very much rooted in the level of form, then it doesn't have that. It's like, okay, well, I get it, I can learn it, and then it doesn't really have any depth to it. And so that's the way to see if it's really a true teaching, an authentic spiritual teaching, will have a deeper significance. It means you can spend your entire life on it, just studying the same thing, but it'll take you deeper and deeper in your experience. So you're studying it this year, you study a course next year, you'll have another experience with this, and it's never ending. It's like, because your experience never ends. It's an eternal experience. You're just honing your experience down into the one universal experience of pure formless awareness of perfect love. Through all these iterations, through all the different experiences you have, you're refining it to the point where you choose only that one experience.
A couple of years ago, I used the phrase, I'm not a body, I'm free. And I used it, several times a day for months, because I really wanted to get it. But I was just on the surface of it. I couldn't really get into it. It's only doing this course with you that I've got being able to see it from other sides. And Lynn has made these affirmation cards for the Course in Miracles, and not the lesson quotes, but other quotes from the course. And we've got it on the kitchen table, and every day, every mealtime, I pick another card and read another one. And it's only since joining this program, when I read them, I get it. When before they were just words that I read, and you could on the surface level go, yeah, I get that, but I didn't get it. It's only now that they really speak to me.
But it's conceptual knowledge versus experiential. You start to see that wasn't really knowing. It's you can have an idea in your mind, it's conceptual, but you didn't really know it because you're not really feeling it and experiencing it. When the words take you into an experience, and you go, oh wow, actually, I'm not a body, I'm free. That's massive. That's a radical, life-changing idea if you really get it. For I'm still as perfect love extends me. Wow. Okay. Wow. Mind-blowing, reality altering. I'm not a body. I thought I was a body, but I'm not. I'm really free of all of the limitations that the body seems to impose. I remain, I've always been. There's eternal nature here. Perfect love extends me. I feel the extension, I feel expansion. Wow. If you go into the experience of it, it's just like rocks your world. And it's just a couple of sentences. You go, how's that possible? Well, because it's pointing to the truth. It's pointing you to the ultimate universal experience that he talks about. That's beyond theology. I'm not a body, I'm free. So each one of these ideas can absolutely rock your world, because they point to this universal truth. And that's why he's giving them, all these different ideas, and he's reformatting them, and he's giving them to us in a review, because he's going, well, it's all powerful. It's not like, okay, well, I learned that. Yeah, I got it. Yeah, sure. I'm not a body, I'm free. No, and I got that 3 weeks ago, so it's fine. It's going, no, you probably didn't really get it. So let's have another look at it. And you go, okay, well, maybe today you'll get it on a deeper level. Just how, radical an idea that is. I'm not a body, I'm free. Wow. So I'm free of all suffering. There can be no suffering if there's no body. Bodies suffer. Minds attached to bodies suffer. But if there's no body, if you're incorporeal, what's there to suffer? And what could cause you suffering if there's no form? So I'm not a body, I'm free, which is the foundation of the set phrase we've said for the last 19 days. And then do you want to read his little commentary on it?
I am God's son, but still my mind.
Be still.
Be still my mind and think a moment upon this, and then return to earth without confusion as to what my Father loves forever as his son. Alternatively, I am perfect love's extension. Be still my mind and think a moment upon this, and then return to earth without confusion as to what my source loves forever as its extension. Yeah, be still.
You think, let me still my mind. Do you think that's better?
Yeah.
Let me still my mind and think a moment upon this. So you're giving yourself an instruction. Let me still my mind and think a moment upon this. I am perfect love's extension. Again, like you can contemplate that simple sentence, and that could take you all the way into a deep mystical experience. I am perfect love's extension. Okay, let me just drop into that and feel it. I am perfect love's extension right now. And then you feel it, can't you? You can feel that. It's like an openness. There's something a little flutter in your heart. I'm perfect love's extension. Wow. And you feel that presence coming through you and extending through you. And your mind is still. He's talking about the thinking mind. Let me still my thinking mind and think a moment upon this. So you're thinking now, but in a way that's gonna open you to the experience. So it's not thought in the normal egoic sense, subject object perception. It's you're thinking about an idea that can point you to the truth. And return to earth without confusion. Return to can leave earth, I suppose, to physical reality. Turn to perceptual. Turn to perception. Something like that. Return to perception of this world. So he's asking you to just go outside of the body senses. Close your eyes and just drop in there. And then return, once you've done that, without confusion as to what my source loves forever as its extension. So I'm no longer confused. I know that I'm an extension. And I feel that, and that presence goes with me wherever I go. I realize I can never really be separate from it. And so now I'm living in that presence is now living through me, and it's making the choices and the decisions in my life. And that's what we call guidance. Okay, any thoughts on that?
No, that's good.
Okay, and then this time read the last bit. I'm not a body,
I'm not a body, I am free, for I'm still as perfect love extends me.
Got a nice feeling.
How's
If you like, just allow stillness, and then you say it, and then you just sit in the stillness for a while. Just kind of, it definitely brings an experience, doesn't it? Which is what the words are designed to do. So shall we meditate on this?
yeah.
Okay, so put yourself on mute. So just making yourself comfortable. Sitting with your feet shoulder width apart, back straight, cup your hands in your lap. Close your eyes. And start off by taking a nice deep breath in through the nose. So breathing in, noticing how the stomach rises and the chest rises. And the subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. And clench the sphincter muscle and you lock the energy in. And draw the energy up the spine to your heart center. You can put one hand on your heart. Just connect in with your heart space, feeling into it. Feel this presence in your heart. Feel the warmth of your hand on your heart. Bring your mind into the present moment. Breathe in again. Draw the energy up the spine into the crown of your head, pausing at the top of the inhale. And you smile. And scan your mind. So noticing any thoughts, any emotions, any physical sensations going on. Particularly anything that feels negative or limiting or contracted or constricting in any way. And so you breathe in to all of that, whatever the darkness is, the limitation. You remind yourself, I am not a body. I am free right now. For I am still. I remain and I am in the stillness as perfect love extends me. You feel this extension into your mind of this loving presence. And that just helps you to blow away any darkness. So you exhale out through your mouth and just release any dark thoughts and emotions, sensations related to them. Blow them all away with the breeze of your breath to the nothingness they really are. From the lower stomach into the spine, expel the last remaining air out. And you rest in the peace and the stillness. A few moments. Resting in God, resting in pure formless awareness of perfect love. No thoughts are required, as Yeshua says. Let me still my mind and think a moment upon this. You are perfect love's extension. You are eternal presence. The great I am that I am presence. So sink into that experience and it arise in your thoughts, feelings, every thought, every word, every action, guided by this presence, loving presence. Surrender to it. Your experience. Just observe your breath. Breathing in and out through your nose. Breathing in. Notice how the stomach rises and the chest rises. Subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. Pause at the top of the inhale. If you're aware of any darkness, any limited thoughts and emotions, just blow them away. The breeze of your breath. Exhale. And then release, and you feel the touch of your breath flowing out of your nostrils on the area just below your nose, between your nose and your upper lip. Noticing that subtle breath. Just breathing in and breathing out. Noticing the touch of the breath in your nostrils. Let that open your mind to the present moment. Be still. Breath just stills your mind. And in that stillness, drop the idea that I am perfect love's extension. I'm an extension of perfect love. I am pure, formless awareness. Right now, this is my truth. Truth of who I am, of my being. And just let this experience of pure beingness arise in your mind, in your heart. You feel it. Surrender to the feeling of it. Allow yourself to experience it completely and fully. Don't resist any part of it. Just surrender to it. Next couple of minutes of deep silence. There's nowhere else to go, nothing else to do, nothing else to think about. Just please relax, be still. Surrender to this deep truth of who you really are. The next couple of minutes of deep silence. Any thoughts arise seem to disturb this deep peace. Pure formless awareness of perfect love. Just observe them and be willing to let them go. Just exhale and release them with the breeze of your breath into the nothingness they really are. Like clouds just leaving you. Cannot really obscure the blue sky, which is your pure formless awareness, perfect love. The light of your source that shines through it. And let that light shine through. Just rest in this blue sky of your pure formless awareness. The perfect love stream through your awareness. Next minute or two of deep silence. So just gently coming back, just deep state into an awareness of the body and the breath and senses and the world. And on the count of 3, open your eyes. So 1, just breathing in, notice how the stomach rises and the chest rises and the subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. And the energy rising up the spine, clench the sphincter muscle, put one hand on your heart. Pull the energy into the crown of your head, pause at the top of the inhale, scan your mind again. And you notice any thoughts, any emotions, any sensations going on there, particularly anything that feels negative, limiting, contracted, constricting in any way, shape, or form. And you just exhale it out. Exhale. So let it go, releasing. And we'll go into the nothingness that it really is. And feel the energy you raised up into the crown of your head, subsiding back down the front channel of your body, coming to rest in your stomach and your groin on the count of 2. Notice the weight of your body pressing down into the chair, your feet touching the ground. Notice what you're feeling and touching with your hands. There's a subtle flow of air in your skin. Notice that. Breathe in. Notice any smell on your nose as you do that. Maybe a subtle taste in your mouth. Notice what you're hearing. Without any judgment, just allow these sounds to come, they go, they rise and they subside without any mental commentary. Mental commentary makes them meaningful, judge them as real. What I'm trying to do is just have sense perception without all the judgment and interpretation of the ego to make it all real. So on the count of 3, you can open your eyes and just practice looking around. A minute, let your eyes rest on an object for a few seconds. Don't name it or judge it or label it. Notice that the awareness that you had when your eyes were closed is still there, even though your eyes are open. And then you look at another object, and if you don't name it or judge it or label it in any way, you notice the same awareness is there. So you're teaching your mind that there's only one awareness, which is the true awareness, the light, pure formless awareness, holiness, whatever you want to call it. It's always there, underlies all of your sense perceptions, and that's your true awareness. That's who you really are, true identity, and your peace of mind and your happiness and safety and security and everything else that's truly valuable. Rest there and nowhere else in that awareness. So just set the intention to stay in that awareness for the rest of the session and the rest of the afternoon. To help you do that, use today's lesson. So you can just bring it to mind briefly. I've sent you instructions to do that in under a minute, or you can listen to one of the breath breaks I sent you. It's a 1-minute one or a 4-minute one, just to top you up and connect you into this awareness. So practice that, and that should keep you in this very loving, expansive, expanded state that today's lesson is describing. So you return. Yeshua says, I'm perfect love's extension. Let me still my mind and think a moment upon this. So I've just done that for the last 20 minutes. And then return to perception of this world without confusion as to what my source loves forever as its extension. So you maintain this connection. You're not confused. You know who you are. This awareness is with you always. And you carry that with you. God goes with you wherever you go. Perfect love is with you wherever you go. Teaching you that you're not a body, you're not limited by your body, your sense perceptions, you're free. You rest in the freedom of the spirit, and you remain as God or perfect love created or extends you. So that brings us to the end of the meditation today. So I hope you enjoyed that. We're going to have a little look at the text now, I think. So okay, so you're going to be back in 2 minutes, no problem. So we'll just tab across to save that. And let's have a look. The laws of healing today. It's going to be so section 7 of chapter 26. Hi, Sally.
Hey, sorry, I had to go and do something.
It's okay, no problem. So how much time do you have?
Just under the hour, so till 3.
Okay, till 3. All right, so we'll have a go and see if we can finish as much of the text as possible. As I said, it's a long one, but we'll see how we go. We managed to do sort of five paragraphs in about 20 minutes. So maybe can get through most of it. Okay, so let's just see. Okay. Wait a moment. I'm just gonna mute myself. Just my wife calling.
Okay.
Just pause the recording. Okay. So I'm back, Sally. Yeah, let's see what we can get done in 50 minutes or so. So today's reading from the text is section, where are we? Just get the recording going again. Here's section 7 of chapter 26, called The Laws of Healing. I've already done a bit of translation, so if you want to read the translated text, the alternative in grey.
This is a course in corrections. As such, the laws of healing must be understood before the purpose of the course can be accomplished. Let us review the principles that we have covered and arrange them in a way that summarizes all that must occur for healing to be possible. For when it once is possible, it must occur.
When once is possible, it must occur. So I think
When it's possible once.
when it must occur, for it must occur when it is possible once. I think that's a better way of saying it.
Or it must occur when it is possible once. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So if it's possible once, or if it is possible once, or maybe say differently, for
So
if it is possible once, it must always be possible and occur.
So what's the definition of healing? Become whole?
Yeah, healing and whole are the same root word. So true healing is always of the mind. Healing is at one-ment. Oh, there's Iona. That's nice.
This is
must always be possible and occur. So healing is always of the mind. It's the oneness. It's returning to the mind. And if it's possible once in any situation, it must always be possible, is what he's saying. Hi, Iona.
Hello.
Hiya.
Welcome
Hi.
back.
Thank you.
Nice to see you again.
Thank you. If somebody comes in, I'll disappear, but all good at the moment.
Okay. Are you in your studio?
Yeah, it's open studio 10 days. Mhm.
Oh, wow. Okay. So anyone can come and visit anytime.
Mhm. Doors open.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Nice. I wish I were there. I never actually saw your studio when I was up there.
Oh, that's true. Yeah,
Hmm.
you didn't.
Yeah, would have been nice, but maybe another time. So yeah, we just started the text reading for today, which is a bit of a
Great.
monster. Yeah, it's a 20 paragraph monster. So, but I've done some translation already to facilitate things a bit. So we just done paragraph one.
They seem to be getting longer.
Well, yesterday was really short. I did a 3-paragraph one with Kim, so it was really short, which was useful because it was an evening. And then today is a 20-paragraph one, so it just depends. I think the average length is like maybe 7, 8, and then some are 11, 12, and then this one's a very long one. Anyway, we'll see how much. Sally's got to go in 50 minutes. I'm happy to stay until 4:30 if you want.
I'll be away before that.
Yeah. So, we'll see how much we can do.
I want to work with my brother on the BBC. He used to work for Prince Charles, King Charles, for 14 years. So yeah, he's being interviewed around.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
On the BBC. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, that's fun. So
Is it going to be live, Iona?
Yep.
Live on BBC One?
Mm-hmm. About 4:15 and then about 7.
Okay.
Okay. So, well, if anyone's interested, post a message. It's all spiritual, I guess. It's all it's all interesting. He's quite an interesting guy, Charles, isn't he? I think he's got a bit of there's something else there. There's some higher awareness, I think.
Oh,
into
yes.
organic gardening. I mean, you would know, your brother worked with him, into organic gardening, and
I know all that.
with more of an expansive awareness there.
Yes, he is. He is expanded.
Which is interesting. So I'm not sure how much power a monarch actually has in England, but I suppose it's more influence, isn't it? It's like just being able to. I was listening to David Cameron, and he said, when Charles, he was sometimes there in his audiences with the Queen, and he said he was always, he was a really good listener, and he always had something helpful and wise to say. So I guess, that's kind of what the role, isn't it? It's just like wise counsel.
Indeed.
To someone who's maybe not, needs it in the thick of the political, whatever goes on in politics. So, but I think it's quite a useful analogy, because in this world, it's like the transcendent, isn't it? It's like transcends the level of the politics. The monarchy just kind of transcends that and sits above it. And so in the same way, we have God, pure formless awareness, sitting above the level of whatever's going on in this world.
Yeah. Rising above the battleground.
Above the battleground, exactly. And it's this kind of eternal presence. It doesn't matter what's happening in the scrum of politics, whether it's Labour or Conservatives or whatever, the monarchy transcends that in the same way. Pure formless awareness, perfect love transcends whatever's happening in this world. And something you can always go to as a source of wisdom and counsel and peace and stability and order and all that kind of stuff. So
that's what all the PMs say.
Yeah.
It's like dipping into a calm space.
Yeah. Because they've kind of, I suppose, 70 years. I mean, the Queen saw it all, didn't she? It was like, right, so we've had many governments, many prime ministers, and she's just like, well, it's all just get a sense of perspective on it.
What is this piece of text called?
So we're on section 7 of chapter 26, the laws of healing.
26.
Yeah. I'm going to pull that up.
I've got it here in my studio.
Okay, I'm good. So yeah, Sally, you read number 1, short paragraph. Any thoughts on that? Give us a little summary.
I just thought how appropriate it was, because as I just had the 2-minute break and I walked past the dog and she'd got a sore on her leg, like an open little sore. She's been licking and it didn't look very nice. And then I come back on here and you say we're doing the law of healing. And I'm like, oh, cool. That works out well. Yeah. I was wondering where it says once healing has been possible, it's always possible. So I was just wondering what that actually meant, because we don't usually observe the mind becoming whole in relation to the body. The body just heals and we don't always realize why it's healed. Sometimes we have those moments where we get into the oneness and we go, oh my goodness, yeah, I feel really good. And you notice it mentally. But I was just, wandering around in my mind thinking, well, how would you know if healing had occurred?
Because he's talking about healing not on the body level. The body is just symptomatic of the mind. So the laws of healing he's talking about are laws, mental laws, beliefs. That he's referring to.
So is it the case then?
Because it's a perceptual change. You go, actually, I was in a turbulated state. I was feeling not peaceful or angry or upset, and now I'm feeling that calm, that peace and security and stability in the oneness. Then there's a healing in the mind that's taken place. So
if I look at my dog's wound and I feel peaceful, the chances are I'm probably in the right place. Yeah. Peace is a condition of oneness. It says that in the text. You can't have peace without at-one-ment in your mind.
and so you always feel more peaceful. You always feel everything's okay, even if apparently the dog's suffering. Everything's actually okay in your perception of it, because as you woke up this morning, but that realization there is no suffering. It's all illusion. So what you're seeing is an illusion shown to you by the ego to tempt you to believe in suffering. And just don't be tempted. The healing of the mind is then, no, I will not believe in that law. The law of sickness and suffering and deprivation is a false law. So whatever form it seems to take, my dog's, in this case, your dog's got a sore that seems to be not very nice. Well, that's a temptation to believe in another law.
Yeah, and it's a temptation to go down the ego route and book a vet appointment. But as I was doing that, I was like, yeah, I could use the vet thing as an excuse to find my own alignment. But also it takes you down would take me down a path of fear. I can just feel it. I can't explain why, but it just does. It feels uncomfortable. It doesn't feel like a peaceful route to take.
Well, because what you're doing is you honoring the illusion, saying the illusion is true, and so now I have to take action and I have to do that, and maybe you don't. There's a way of just healing it. You heal your perception, and maybe your dog will heal, because the dog is a projection of your mind, and dogs, animals particularly, are very connected to their owners as well. So you heal your mind, you give the dog a lot of love, that might just heal of its own accord without any intervention. Try that, miraculous healing. It's not that you want the sore to heal. So, okay, well, I'm doing this because I want the sore to heal. No, it's the wrong. I'm doing this because I need to heal my own mind. I need to heal my own belief system that's tempting me to believe in the sickness and the suffering. And that's my responsibility in the situation as the miracle worker. Let me heal my own mind, and then on the level of form, what might play out is the dog's thing heals, because it's no longer useful or necessary. And animals are very receptive to this kind of thing, because they don't have the same kind of fixed beliefs as people do. So you might do forgiveness with a person, but they very resistant. They're very attached to their sickness, and so then they're going to block it. They're not going to be that open to the kind of healing that you're doing in your mind. But with animals, they're generally very receptive, especially if there's a close bond, which it sounds like. She'll be receptive to that. So yeah, just do the healing on the mind level and see what happens.
Yeah, she's been years of being a teacher for me in a fur coat. And I'm glad you tweaked it where you said it's not about loving the dog to heal the dog. It's just loving the dog to be in love, isn't it? Which is healing my mind. Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Good
and then the body level follows kind of automatically. So you never true healing is not trying to heal the body. So let's look at this. Where are we? Sorry, wrong one. If you're saying, well, I'm trying to get a performance outcome, so that's healing. The dog's got a wound. You want the wound healed. Now your mind is focused on the exterior, which is magic. You're looking for a magical solution to really allay your own disturbance. You're feeling disturbed. Your piece is disturbed. Oh, I'd like that healed because that makes me feel better. Seeking for an external to change the internal, but it's the other way around. You need to let that go and say, I just go into the true mind, which is pure formless awareness of perfect love, and I don't see it. I correct my perception. This is not true. This is not real. This represents a false belief. And you really do that, then you've changed the quantum field, and on the behavioral level, the performance outcome level, then a miracle of form may happen. The dog's sore clears up miraculously. Or not, you can't, you're not trying to do that. That's the point.
Yeah.
You're just doing it because you're healing your mind. You're using the situation to heal your mind, and the outcome will be the outcome. So you may end up taking the dog to the vet in a few days, who knows? And maybe that's then, but the point is you're using it for your healing. That's what the situation's for. And the dog's healing as well. So as you atone, so the dog will feel more one with you, and there's a healing of two seemingly separate minds in the dream world.
Yeah, that's really good. Thank you.
Pleasure. Okay, so if it's possible once, if you can do this once, it must always be possible and occur. This is what Yeshua's saying. It's always possible if it can happen once. And so it can always occur if you allow it, if you don't block it. And then he qualifies that with paragraph 2. So if you want to read that, Iona, for us, please.
All sickness comes from separation. When the separation is denied, it goes, for it is gone as soon as the idea that brought it has been healed and been replaced by sanity. Sickness and sin are seen as consequence and cause in a relationship kept hidden from awareness that it may be carefully preserved from reason's light. Sickness and sin, consequence, yes. So sin, limited awareness.
We decided we couldn't really translate sin because sin is actually the belief in error made permanent and real. That's quite a long translation, so we just decided to keep it as sickness and the belief in error made permanent and real are seen as consequence and cause in a relationship kept hidden from awareness. So what he's saying is that sin is really the cause of all sickness. Consequence and cause in a relationship kept hidden from awareness because the ego doesn't want you to see this, so that it may be carefully preserved from reason's light, from from true reason, maybe.
I mean, it's unequivocal. All sickness comes from separation. So all cancer, all HIV.
Whatever.
But what about the idea that cancer, TB, syphilis, have come from previous ancient Atlantean, Lemurian civilizations? They're actually in the soil, in the water.
Yeah, well, in the illusion that may be true, but it's what Yesh was saying is it's all illusion. Go back to Lemuria. Well, that's another illusion. That was also illusion. So what we do is we look for causation in this world, but we're forgetting the ultimate causation. What's the ultimate cause of sickness is not Lemuria or whatever explanation you have on the level of form. That's not the ultimate cause. The ultimate cause is the idea of sin. That you somehow have sinned against God. You have destroyed oneness, and therefore there's a consequence. Now you must suffer.
Whenever that happens in history,
Yes, exactly. So again, it's looking at it from a higher level. You're not on the timeline here. You're transcending the timeline, and you're saying that above all of this, whatever's happened in time, is just part of this thought system. The ultimate cause of the soil becoming infected with whatever the virus, whatever the theory is, the ultimate cause of that is still sin. The belief in sin, and that existed in Lemuria and Atlantis, and it's been going since the very moment we decided to separate from oneness. The moment of the birth of the universe, the Big Bang, that was when sin seemed to come into existence, and it's been playing itself out for a long time. Now in the form of this world, and he's saying, look at that and see that sin is the cause of this apparent consequence of sickness. Because when you see that causality, you go, okay, well, that's very simple. In order to heal, all I need to do is drop my belief in sin and guilt. Because there's nothing to be sinful, and there never was a sin. I never really destroyed my own awareness. It was never possible. And then that's the end of all of it. So that's the true healing that he's talking about. The laws of healing are simply saying none of the consequences of this false idea are true. So you can let them all go as one, and there's no order of difficulty in miracles for that reason. And you don't get caught up in these, crazy explanations. Oh, well, it was Lemuria, it was Atlantis, because that's just in time. But that's not the level we're talking about here. We're talking about transcending time.
Good. Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Okay. Do you want to give a little summary of that?
That all sickness without exception comes from the idea in the mind that we are separate from pure formless awareness. And as soon as that idea goes, then healing and sanity returns.
You notice he's not really talking about the body level at all, is he?
No.
Not mentioning the body, because you're not a body. The healing is in the mind.
All in the mind.
If there's consequences in the body, then it can be addressed in the mind. That's where it should be addressed, because that's the cause. So medicine, modern allopathic medicine, is based on the idea that somehow there's a physical cause of these illnesses, and therefore it can be addressed on the physical level, on the exterior level. It's false reasoning, because the cause is always internal. It's always in the mind. You only get sick because you have this belief system of the ego going on. So imagine if we had a healing system that was based on the truth. The whole COVID debacle wouldn't have happened. People just, okay, this is ridiculous. We're making this all up in our mind. It's all a belief. So let's just let go of the belief. We won't make this real. And there won't be a pandemic. The pandemic is in our mind. I mean, what a different world we'd have. And we wouldn't have all the insanity that we've seen play out, around this. And it's, anyone who's sane looks at like what happened with COVID, but that's just totally bonkers. How did that happen? Well, it happened because it's based on a false belief system, which is insane. And so then what can you expect but insane consequences? Insanity just sees it for what it is and says, well, none of it's true. So don't seek for some kind of solution on the level of form to what is a problem that's caused in the mind. So just do the healing on the mind level, and you'll be fine, and COVID won't be a problem.
Yeah.
Okay, so happy to move on to number 3. You can read that for us, Sally.
Guilt asks for punishment, and its request is granted, not in truth, but in the world of shadows and illusions built on sin. The extension of pure formless awareness of perfect love perceived that he would see, let's move now. He would see, because perception is a wish fulfilled. Perception changes.
So that's one, so I'll just stop you there. What he means, he would see, means what he wants to see.
Okay.
Sees what he wants to see. Extension perceived what he
wants to see.
Well, it should be wanted. Extension perfect love perceives what he wants to see. How about instead of perceive, make it perceives, then it's present. Perceives what, extension of perfect love perceives what it wants to see, because perception is a wish fulfilled. Think about that for a moment. Perception is a wish fulfilled. You perceive as you want it to be. So if you look at this instrument for peace, there it is. Right? Perception is a wish fulfilled. You have a desire at the foundation to be a separate self, and then through this mechanism of belief, thought, and emotion and perception, that desire is now fulfilled, and you see what you want to see from the desire. And so the healing lies in looking at the desire of your heart, desire or prayer of the heart, depending on whether you're in the spirit, Holy Spirit, or the ego, and correcting it and saying, well, I don't want to be a separate self anymore. Therefore, I don't want to believe this, think this, feel this, and perceive this, because I understand that my desire is what's behind my perception ultimately. And you see what he's saying. And so all perception is then a call. If it's incorrect perception, it's a call to change your desire. What do you want to see? Well, I want to see truth. I want to see oneness. Okay, well, change it then. Change your desire, what you want to see. That must change your belief, thought, emotion, and perception of the situation. And that's the healing. That's the healing process. from the core desire to be one instead of to be separate. And in the end, that's what it comes down to. Do I want to be a separate self, or do I want to be one self? In the end, that's what's behind all perception. It's actually really, really simple, but these layers of complexity confuse us. Because we've got perception and emotion and thoughts and belief, it confuses us and we don't know what's really going on. And so this process is about just getting us to see, no, it's ultimately all about what I desire. What do I want? Do I want to be a separate self and believe what a separate self must believe and think it and feel it and perceive it? Or do I want to be one self, the Christ self, the one, which then becomes the one self that then perceives oneness. So that's the Holy Spirit, all of which returns me back to the experience of pure formless awareness of perfect love, which is what we discussed last week. I think you missed this, Diana. You missed this diagram, so I'm going to show it to you quickly. The Holy Trinity. It's an operating system for your life. So you have the true self, which is the desire to be one. So that's at the very core of that diagram. And that now perceives differently. It perceives all the people, things, places, events, circumstances, situations, and experiences that you have in time and space from the one self, which ultimately unites your mind with God, the Father, source, pure formless awareness of perfect love, in that experience, the universal experience that Yeshua talks about. So it's an operating system for your life. Father, source, Son, Christ, the one self, and then the perception is the Holy Spirit's responsibility. All happening in one line. And if you do that consistently, then you have a powerful operating system for your whole life. And that's what the Holy Trinity really is. Which then gives expression to the miracle that allows miracles to happen just as a consistent part of your transformed perception of the world, which is then the real world. So you start to see how it all fits together. Brilliant. I mean, it's a brilliant thought system that he's giving us, a complete replacement to the ego's insane thought system. Okay. So where were we? We've got interrupted there. Perception changes. So do you want to read the rest of it, Sally?
Perception changes, made to take the place of changeless knowledge, yet is truth unchanged. It cannot be perceived, but only known. What is perceived takes many forms, but none has meaning. Brought to truth, its senselessness is quite apparent. Kept apart from truth, it seems to have a meaning and be real.
Okay. So thoughts on that? Any questions, or just want to give a little summary?
Yeah, the first bit where it says guilt asks for punishment, so I'm feeling guilty that the dog's not well. Yeah. That it's, what do I want? Do I want to be a separate self, or do I want to be pure formless awareness of perfect love?
Yeah. So, and that's going to determine your perception of the situation. You see, this diagram is a great diagram to remind you, it's your desire ultimately. What do you want to be that determines your perception? It's not the external situation that's determining your perception. It's the desire in your own mind. And that's the level of the miracle. When you get to that clarity, you go, okay, well, I just need to change my mind. I don't want to be a separate self here. So I don't want to perceive the suffering and the sickness and the possibility of death, because that's what's on your mind. I want to see only oneness. I want to see the truth in the situation. And so yes, I change my belief, thought, emotion, and perception about this, because that's what I choose. That's what I want. It's really, really simple what he's saying, but I mean, to actually do it is a revelation in our minds. It's a complete miracle to actually do this and live this way, and not just listen to the ego's programming, the false programming. That's what we've been doing for so long. And then what else is he saying here?
the truth is known. It's a deeper level truth. The illusion keeps us from that truth.
Perception changes, made to take the place of changeless knowledge. So any change, by definition, is false because it's changing, and what's changes cannot change. Yet truth is unchanged. So it cannot be perceived, but only known. Which is the difference between knowledge and perception. Perception is perceptual, you perceive it, it's changing. Knowledge, you know it, and it never changes. So what is perceived takes many forms, but none has any meaning. Again, pretty right, nothing has any meaning here. Nothing I see means anything. Lesson number 1. None has any meaning. Whatever the form is, it's meaningless because it's perceptual, and perception is false. Brought to truth, its senselessness is quite apparent. But kept apart from truth, it seems to have a meaning and to be real. So you must bring all of these illusions to the truth and say, well, it's all perceptual, so none of it really has any meaning. Your dogs saw, the apparent suffering, the sickness, eventual death of the form of it has no meaning. It has no meaning in truth at all.
And I think the work is to look at it, and if anything comes up, then
how are you, Anna? How are you?
Have you got to go? Yeah, you can listen in, Iona, if you want to. We'll carry on. Sorry, Sally.
The work is for me to look at the wound and see if anything else is coming up, isn't it?
Yeah. So exactly, your dog's wound is a trigger for the ego to arise, and for then the opportunity for a miracle to happen, because you change your mind through the situation. And that's how this methodology works. Whatever's coming up, that's the trigger. It shows you the ego's thought system, and then you can bring it into conscious awareness, and you can let it go using your awareness now of the truth. So, well, the truth is still true. So in truth, this doesn't mean anything. It doesn't matter. And if you really get that, you will experience the peace of pure formless awareness. That's now replacing any false beliefs about that situation. So brought to truth, its senselessness is quite apparent. Right? In truth, it's senseless to be sick. There's no purpose to sickness at all. This is what he's saying. There's no purpose to all the sickness and suffering and death.
Well, yeah, just the guilt, the punishment there.
Yeah, but that's not a real purpose. That's just the ego's false purpose.
Yeah.
It's based on a false idea that you really did separate.
Yeah, this is a tough one for me.
No, it's good. It's good because it's bringing up all of that whole thought system. Have another quick look at it. Bringing up the all of this, the idea that you're an individual self, you really have separated, therefore there's guilt and there's sin, therefore it demands punishment. Guilt demands punishment. That's what he's saying. So then there's a fear of punishment, and so now you see it in your dog, and it brings all of that up in you. And you get to look at it again and go, okay, well, there's still this resident program running, sin and guilt and fear and attack and sickness and death, and it's all part of this crazy thought system, and it's all being shown to me through this wound in the dog's leg. And that's profound. So the dog's leg becomes the healing of your mind. The situation becomes the healing of your entire egoic thought system, and the return to oneness. And that's the gift of the situation and of your dog to you. That your dog in the situation can heal your entire mind and return you to your source, if you perceive it correctly. And so it's all perfect in its imperfection. The dog is doing you a favor by having a wound, if you see it correctly. See?
Yeah, I've always seen it as she's working for me. Ever since I've had her, since she was 9 months old. There's always been health things. There's been a cycle. And I keep thinking that I've made progress, and then there's always something else pops up. So yeah, this is my Achilles heel. Yeah.
So come back again. It's like, okay, so you're saying, yes, I really want enlightenment. You're shifting. Then it's like, okay, so now the ego, what does it do? It presents the one thing where it's like, okay, so this has been long-standing, persistent. You believe there's no sickness? Okay, well, we're going to show you sickness again. In the form of the dog, so it's a special relationship and you feel responsible, and so now the guilt comes up. And isn't it just ingenious how it tries to get to you?
Yeah.
But in the process, what it does is it reveals itself again. Okay, well, there we go. Here's the thought system of guilt and sin and a separate self. You're identifying with yourself as Sally, and bodies and fear of punishment and death and sickness and the whole thing. It's all bound up in this thought system. You get to look at it again and go, is this really what I want?
No.
Yeah. Okay, well then, let it all go and restore your mind to the peace of pure formless awareness by realizing that none of it has any meaning at all. And then your special relation with your dog might kick in. You go, well, how can this have no meaning? This is important. Well, is it really? If the dog is guaranteed to die, I mean, the one thing you can be guaranteed of is your dog's going to die. So why are you placing so much importance on something that's so temporary? Your dog's going to die. One day your dog won't be there, and it won't matter whether your dog had a lesion on the leg or not, because the whole form is going to be gone. So if you look at it from that perspective, why are you making a big deal of it? Only personal attachment can do that. Only, I value the dog because this creature is my special dog and I've got a history. So it's the whole story of Sally comes into it. Now you get to look at it and go, okay, well, it's another opportunity to deconstruct the story, because the dog's history and your personal history are intertwined. And that makes the character of Sally real, because the dog's real, and the story of the dog intertwines with your story. And now, you feel emotional and you feel attached because it's your story that's coming up. And there's an attachment and identification to the story, which is the ego. And that's seemingly being threatened. The dog might die, and then, I won't have, the dog that's now been my companion for however long. I don't know how old the dog is, but maybe a few years.
9 years.
And so, that 9 years. Okay, so you see again the lesson. You think 9 years is stable. Okay, well, but it's not, because sooner or later that's going to change. With dogs, it's, 10, 15 years. Well, what do? They die. So you might have 7, 8, 9 dogs in your life, because that's like a decade at a time. And then when will we learn? It's like, okay, but there's no stability here. I'm not saying don't get another dog, but don't think that's some kind of permanent stability and that it's going to last. So you can only then, people go, well, that's a bit depressing, but all you can do then is appreciate that dog in the present moment. That's all you have. There's no attachment to the form. You just appreciate, right, there's another being here, apparently another being. And in the moment, we can share a connection and we can share love. We can share this pure formless awareness of perfect love in the moment. And that's really all we have. And that might end tomorrow. The dog might die tomorrow. I might die too, who knows? But right now, that's what I have. And so each moment becomes sacred. You never know when it could change and disappear. You don't take it for granted. It's like each moment I'm experiencing it to the full. So in some ways, the awareness of death and the impermanence of life in this world really brings the life to life. You can't, you go, I must appreciate every moment, because it can change at any moment, and I'm not going to take anything for granted.
Yeah, and it applies to everything. Yeah, I see that. Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah.
So, hopefully this will help you just to collapse any of that residual guilt, false perception, and go, only the truth is true, and none of that none of those misinterpretations of the situation are real. And so you can find peace no matter what happens on the level of form. The dog's wound heals, you find peace. If the dog dies, you find peace. It's the same thing. And then you're invulnerable. You're above the battleground because it doesn't matter anymore. And sooner or later, your dog's going to die anyway. So sooner or later, that's going to be an outcome. And if you're going to attach to that and you're going to get upset, then you're going to suffer. But if you deal with it now, you go, okay, well, I'm not upset. Pretend your dog's going to die tomorrow. Like, do that as an exercise. Okay, imagine tomorrow I wake up, dog's gone. How would that feel?
I'd be okay.
Yeah. Well, then you're okay now. I'm just, okay, I'm okay. Because
Yeah.
I still have the one thing that will never leave me, which is my true awareness. That's the one thing that can never leave me. All form will leave you, but that awareness can never leave you. Because it's the essence of who you are. And so therein lies your security, your hope, everything. Yes, you're saying that's where it all is. You're not going to find it anywhere else. It's such a simple message, really, isn't it? But it's only complex to get because the ego has spun this whole illusion, and it's got some alternative going on. It's trying to get us to attach to all of that. Forget the simple truth in the process.
And it's so much easier for somebody else outside of it to see it clearly. When you're in it, it's easy sometimes. But yeah, thank you.
No, which is why we have the teaching. You've got a teaching that is absolutely saying this is how it is, and there's no exceptions to it. And then having a teacher or facilitator like me just helps, because I'm not attached to the dog. I'm just saying this is see it for what it is. This is the truth. And then it reminds you, brings you back to truth and to these laws that are true, saying, well, this is really my only salvation in this situation, any situation. I need to hold to these laws, or I believe in madness. That's your choice. Hold to the laws of healing. I believe those, or I believe in madness. Those are my choices. And madness, there's no sanity. There's no hope really of anything constructive ever happening in it. It's just madness and pain and suffering and sickness and death. So no, I cannot allow my mind to go there. As tempting as it may be, the ego is going to say, oh no, but your dog's really suffering and you need to care about it. Don't be so callous and heartless and all kinds of stuff, because it wants you to attach to that so that it can make you suffer. It's a setup. It doesn't want you to feel that just pure formless awareness of perfect love no matter what, because that undoes it. And so it's going to use all kinds of arguments to try and get you to go down the rabbit hole of perception, to forget the truth and now believe in the illusion. But you just got to be steadfast and not buy it.
I suppose that happens, like you say, the ego will pick your nearest and dearest, or the thing that gets your attention the most.
Yeah. It's going to go for your weak spots, because it's like, okay, so you want pure formless, okay, so what is it going to do? Because it's very cunning. It's going to bring the point where you're most attached, where there's a weakness, and it's going to bring that up because that's its best defense. But in the process of revealing itself that way, you now get the opportunity to heal that weakness and let it go and make it into a strength, which the ego has no answer to. If you're really willing to let it go, well, what can it do? Find another one. Okay, great. Bring it on. Bring another one up, and I'll look at it and I'll apply the same process. I'll let it go and I'll heal it. So ultimately, it's got no answer to the Holy Spirit. It can just keep bringing up whatever the weaknesses are, which are the parts that need healing, and then you bring it to the light of your true awareness, and you let it go, and you heal it. And so the more you do this, the more it reveals itself, the quicker the healing process happens. And so it's actually cooperating in its own undoing. Although it doesn't want to see that, that's actually what it's doing. So you could say, some interpretation of it is that all things are happening for good. Even the ego and its craziness is happening for good once it's reinterpreted through the Holy Spirit, because it's all happening for your healing. And And so there's the only purpose that the ego has, to reveal itself so you can heal it, so you can find the truth again. And the darkness only has a purpose in the undoing of it. Yes, it needs to reveal itself so that you can let it go. That's the only purpose for it. It has no absolute purpose. But in time, it has this temporary purpose of, yes, I need to bring it into awareness so I can let it go. The danger is people then get attached to it and say, oh, well, the darkness is always going to be there. No, 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 no. It's not always going to be there. You're going to let it go ultimately, and the whole thing's going to collapse. And that's another little, cunning trick that you can play. Oh, well, darkness has a purpose. So yes, okay, well, and there's always going to be dark. Oh, well, okay, now you just made a fundamental error because you've made darkness real, you see. You've made sin and guilt real. Instead of seeing them as temporary, you see them as permanent. Because they'll always be there. No, they won't always be there. They are temporary arisings of a delusional thought system which can be let go of. And that's the correct way of perceiving them. So temporary means they're not going to be there for long. In fact, the shorter, the better. If you can collapse them in a minute, then do it. Let it go. There's no point in hanging on to them for any longer than you can possibly help. Okay, so happy with number 3. You want to give a little summary of that? I think that might be useful for you.
Oh, the illusion is that there's sin and guilt, and in truth, that's not the case. And anything that changes is not real. The changelessness is the pure formless awareness of perfect love. And it will throw you many curveballs to show you the illusion. Just to keep you away from the truth, so you can learn what is real.
Yeah, and in every situation, that's always the truth. There are no exceptions. So dog sick, dog dying, people sick, people dying. It's all the same. One illusion, and one answer to the illusion. One healing to that illusion, which is the truth. But none of it has any meaning. This is what he's saying. None of it has any meaning. It's all just a dream. Crazy dream spun from a false idea.
Okay.
Okay. So you probably have to go just now. Do you want to do one more paragraph?
Yeah, do one more. Perception's laws are opposite to truth, and what is true of knowledge is not true of anything that is apart from it, yet has pure formless awareness of perfect love, given answer to the world of sickness, which applies to all its forms. Pure formless awareness of perfect love's answer is eternal, though it works in time where it is needed. Yet because it is of pure formless awareness of perfect love, the laws of time do not affect its workings. It is in this world, but not a part of it, for it is real and dwells where all reality must be. Ideas leave not their source, their effects, but seem to be apart from them. Ideas are of the mind. What is projected out and seems to be external to the mind is not outside at all, but an effect of what is in and has not left its source. Yeah. Yeah, it really does. Sorry?
Ideas don't leave their source, which
No.
is one of the key teachings of this course. Only seem to be apart from it. So we think that we can really project out of our minds and see an external world. An idea has left its source because it's now not in the mind. It seems to be outside of the mind. We've literally gone out of our minds. But actually, the idea is still in our minds. It hasn't really left its source. And it must be healed at its source, which is in our mind. Ideas are of the mind, as he's saying. When it's projected out, seems to be external to the mind. It's not outside at all.
Yeah, that's amazing, isn't it? It seems so real.
But an effect of what is in and has not left its source.
Yeah, it's a good lesson.
So what a dream! What a setup! And this is why this kind of mind training is necessary, because we got so deeply in this dream, this illusion, that we've forgotten. Well, none of this is true. This is just a projection of my own mind. Everything is projection of my own mind. It's showing me my own beliefs. It's not really outside of me at all, but an effect of what is inside. So integral model again, have a look at this. What's interior, my values, priorities, motivations, my beliefs effectively, is what's creating this experience of an external world. It's not really outside my mind. It's a projection of my mind. It's connected to my mind. And so the healing of the mind is to see that, now use the trigger that the external world presents to go back, track it back and go, okay, so what beliefs is that showing me? Oh, okay, now I can see the beliefs because they've been manifested for me. They've been demonstrated to me in the stream world. So now you have a way of seeing the false beliefs and letting them go. Do you see how helpful that is?
Yeah, but sometimes they're so buried, aren't they, that you're just not willing to go there. The ego will prevent you accessing what you need.
Then what's going to happen at some point is it's going to come up. You need a trigger. You need some situation, life situation, to show you that belief. So your dog gets sick, or you lose a job, or your relationship falls apart, or whatever. You need the trigger to bring up that deep-seated belief, which you'd hidden. It's in your subconscious. Now it comes up and it arises very strongly, and now you get to see it and to let it go. And so that's perfect. Great, because you needed the trigger to bring up the belief. Otherwise, it remains in your subconscious. And how do you get there? You can't see the belief. It's intangible. It's hidden there. And if everything's going along reasonably okay in the dream, that belief doesn't get triggered. And so it remains dormant, but it's still there. And so you see how the projection mechanism of the ego is exactly the mechanism that the Holy Spirit's going to use to heal your mind. So that's the Achilles heel of the ego. The projection mechanism is meant to defend itself, is the very mechanism the Holy Spirit's going to use to undo it.
Okay. Yeah, I get that.
And so the ego has no answer to that. If you really apply this teaching, it's got no answer. All it can do is keep projecting. And it can try all it likes with the projection mechanism, and it'll throw everything it possibly can at you. But then the Holy Spirit says, okay, bring it on, because this is my healing. I'm going to see all the beliefs manifested for me. That process is going to accelerate. And now I can heal even quicker because the beliefs keep showing up and I keep collapsing them. And this is actually what I want. So bring it on. And so now I'm the invincible, invulnerable self that cannot be moved and shaken. It's like, well, it doesn't matter what's happening. The truth is still true. I am still what I am. And all these beliefs come up. They're temporary. I look at them, I release them, I let them go, and I restore my mind to pure form, of perfect love. And the more I do that, the more I become aware that that is my true self. That's my true awareness. And nothing else is really true. Nothing else is real. Nothing else really matters. And then I'm learning that I am the Christ. I'm the one self, which restores my mind to this pure formless awareness of perfect love, to that state, which is the ultimate truth. And eventually when I lay my body aside, finally, I've learned that lesson. I reside in that truth forever, for all eternity. And then I'm free of all illusions.
Okay, that's absolutely brilliant, but I have got to go. Lovely. Thank you
Sally,
so much. I appreciate it. See you tomorrow.
Joining. See you tomorrow. All right. Namaste. Okay, so we can continue with the lesson, with the section of the text. So what he's saying here is that everything is a projection. There isn't really anything outside of ourselves. It's all ideas that are projected out. Seems to be external to the mind. but it's actually internal. So perfect love's answer is eternal, although it works in time where it is needed. Because it comes from perfect love, the laws of time do not affect its working. So it exists where all reality must be in truth, beyond time and space, beyond the projection. Although it seems to have an effect in this world, it's ultimately beyond this world. And the effects appears do not leave their source, the effects only seem to be apart from them. Really, ideas are of the mind, and what is projected out and seems to be external to the mind is not outside at all, but an effect of what is inside and has not left its source. Effect of what is in the mind, or in awareness, seems to be external to the mind, to awareness. So, your formless awareness of perfect love's answer lies where the belief in sin must be. For only there can its effects be utterly undone and without cause. Perceived to be without cause. Perception's laws must be reversed because they are reversals of the laws of truth. Laws of truth will forever be true and cannot be reversed. It can be seen as upside down. And this must be corrected where the illusion of reversal lies. So what he's saying is perception's laws are upside down, backwards. They're reversals of the laws of truth. They're opposite of the laws of truth. Laws of truth will forever be true and cannot be reversed. It can be misperceived as upside down. So we think that truth is false and what's false is true. And this illusion must be corrected where the illusion of reversal lies in our belief. In our minds. So it's impossible that one illusion be less amenable to truth than all the rest. They're all the same. And that's amenable to undoing through undoing through truth and all the rest, but it is possible that some are given greater value and less willingly offered to truth for healing and for help. No illusion has any truth in it. It appears some are more true than others, although this clearly makes no sense at all. So we think that some illusions have more truth than others. All that a hierarchy of illusions can show is preference. What do we prefer to be true and what's untrue, not reality. What relevance is preference to the truth? Illusions are illusions and are false. A preference gives them no reality. Not one is true in any way. And all must yield with equal ease to what pure formless awareness of perfect love gave as answer to them all. Which is, none of them are true and none of them are real. Pure formless awareness of perfect love's will is one. We'll say perfect love's awareness is one. And any wish that seems to go against its awareness has no foundation. So he's saying here that all illusions are the same. There's no real hierarchy of illusions. These are just preferences that are actually meaningless in truth. Any wish that seems to go against pure formless awareness of perfect love has no foundation in truth and is false. So sin is not error, for it goes beyond correction to impossibility. Sin goes beyond correction to impossibility. The belief that is real has made some errors seem forever past the hope of healing and the lasting grounds of victimhood. So we think that sin is permanent and true and real. Goes beyond correction to impossibility. So actually it's an impossible idea. But we believe it's real, and we think that our victimhood, sense of being a helpless, innovative little life, living in a body doomed to suffer and die, is true and real, and there seems to be no hope of healing. If this was so, state of pure formless awareness would be opposed by its own opposite. So there would be truly be an opposite to pure formless awareness or heaven that is as real as it. Opposed by its own opposite. Can be as real as it. Then with pure formless awareness of perfect love's will be split in two. And pure formless awareness of perfect love's awareness will be split in two, and all creation be subjected to the laws of two opposing powers. until pure formless awareness of perfect love becomes impatient, splits the world apart, and relegates attack upon itself. Relegates attack upon itself. And so as it lost its mind, true mind, capital mind, proclaiming sin has taken its reality from it and brought its love at last to vengeance's heels. Heals means vengeance is destructive. Presence. Such an insane picture. Insane defense can be expected for such an insane picture. Cannot establish that the picture is true. So saying, hypothetically speaking, it would seem like perfect love's awareness has been split in two, and all creation is subject to the laws of two opposing powers. And that's split the world apart and attacked itself. Two opposing powers. All creation, all beingness, subjected to laws of two pure forms, whereas perfect love. Would have split the world apart. And attacked itself. And so it would have lost its mind. So it would have lost its mind, proclaiming sin, and taking its reality from it and brought its love at last in vengeance as destruction. Insane defense can be expected for such an insane picture. We cannot establish that the picture is true. So saying this is insane, that pure formless awareness of perfect love could split itself and become two and attack itself, but and only insane defense can be expected for such an insane picture. But that defense cannot establish that the picture is true. So let's move on. Nothing gives meaning where no meaning is. Nothing gives meaning where there is no meaning. Truth needs no defense to make it true. Illusions have no witnesses and no effects. Who looks on them is only deceived. So who perceives them is only deceived. Whoever perceives them is only deceived. And then goes the only function here. So as to bring the joy this world denies to every aspect of pure formless awareness, perfect love's extension, where sin was thought to rule. So as to bring the joy this world denies to every aspect of perfect love's extension, where sin was thought to rule. So truth will bring joy to every part of the mind, every fragment of the mind that thinks it's separate from its true awareness. Perhaps you do not see the role letting go plays in ending death and all beliefs that arise from the mist of guilt. Sins are beliefs that you impose between your companion and yourself. They limit you to time and place and give you a little space. Give a little space to you, another little space to it. Space to you. And another little space to it. The separating off, symbolized in your perception by a body, which is clearly separate and a thing apart. Yet, what the symbol represents is only your wish to be apart and separate. The symbol represents only your wish to be apart and separate. So, body is a symbol of separation, thing that seems to be separate and apart, but this only represents your wish to be apart and separate. So we see what we want to see, we perceive what we want to see, and we want to perceive through the body's eyes. And sins are beliefs that you impose between your companion and yourself. They limit you to time and place, time and space. Give a little space to you, another little space to it. So we want to see us, we want to see through the body's eyes, we want to see separate bodies, because they give a little space to you and another little space to another body. And in our perception, this all seems to be very real. We seem to have separate bodies, with separate identities, going their separate ways with space between us, none of which is true. So forgiveness, or letting go, takes away what stands between your companion and yourself. There's the wish that you be joined with him and not apart. Join with him, not apart from him. We call it a wish because it still conceives of other choices. It has not yet reached beyond the world of choice entirely. And it's still the idea of choice, decision. Call it a wish. Yet, this wish is in line with the state of pure formless awareness, a state with pure formless awarenesses, with the state of pure formless awareness. And is not in opposition to the pure formless awareness of perfect love. And it falls far short, giving you your full inheritance. It does remove the obstacles that you place between the state of pure formless awareness where you are and recognition of where and what you are. So forgiveness, letting go, just removes the obstacles, removes the blocks to awareness of love's presence, and allows the state of pure formless awareness to arise again in your mind. Recognizing who you are, where you are, truth. Facts are unchanged, yet facts can be denied and thus unknown, although they were known before they were denied. Some facts can be denied and thus be unknown. Although they were known before they were denied. So we knew them once, but we denied them, and then they seem to be unknown. So for letting go is like this intermediary function. We need to do it to restore our mind to the truth. It's not the ultimate truth, your full inheritance, which removes the obstacles to this truth, to the state of pure formless awareness. So, salvation or awakening, perfect and complete, ask but a little wish, and what is true be true. Ask only a little wish of you. What is true be true. A little willingness to overlook what is not there, a little sigh that speaks for the state of pure formless awareness as a preference to this world. Death and desolation seem to rule. So it's asking us, awakening asks us to choose between this world and another world. Choose between a world of death and desolation, the product of the death wish, which is the ego, the state of pure formless awareness, and say, well, I prefer pure formless awareness, and I hold to that choice no matter what the world of death and desolation show me. And joyous answer. All creation rise within you. Choice answer. So beingness. Beingness will arise within you to replace the world you see with a state of pure formless awareness. Wholly perfect and complete. What is letting go but a willingness that truth be true? What can remain unhealed and broken from a unity which holds all things within itself? There is no sin, and every correction is possible the instant the extension of pure formless awareness, the extension of perfect love, perceives his wishes, and pure formless awareness of perfect love are one. So we see that there's only one awareness. Your wish is to be that awareness. So your wish is only to be the pure formless awareness of perfect love, to be one, and then you will see that the truth is true. You need to be willing to see that, willing to perceive that only the truth is true. A little willingness to overlook what is not there, a little sigh that speaks for the state. Pure formless awareness is a preference to this world that death and desolation seem to rule. So it's a choice. Awakening requires that we choose truth over illusion. So number 11, what is the will of pure formless awareness of perfect love? What is pure formless awareness? Pure formless awareness, perfect love. Yet is aware that wills, that hears is aware its extension as everything. Right. It's an expansive awareness. There's no limitation, there's no lack, there's no separation. And this is guaranteed when it created its extension. It has everything. When it extended its extension, there's everything there is. It's impossible that anything be lost. What you have is what you are. So what you have is what you are. It's impossible that anything be lost. Can't lose what you are. This is the correction by which creation became your function, by which extension became your function, sharing it with pure formless awareness, perfect love. That you share with pure formless awareness, perfect love. Is not understood apart from it, therefore has no meaning in this world. And as the extension of perfect love, ask not too much, but far too little. And sacrifice. Its own identity with everything. Just to find a treasure of its own. So we sacrifice our own true identity with everything, whatever we perceive is now used. To justify this separate identity made. And this cannot do without a sense of isolation, loss, and loneliness. As soon as we sacrifice our identity, we will experience isolation, loss, and loneliness. And this is the treasure. You're sought to find. You can only be afraid of it. This is not true. Is fear a treasure? Can certainty be what you want? Can uncertainty be what you want? Is it a mistake about your will and what you really are? Is it just a mistake? About your awareness. And what you really are. Let us consider what the error is so it can be corrected and not protected. So in this belief, attack can be projected outside the mind where the belief arose. Here is the firm conviction that ideas can leave their source, made real and meaningful. And from this era does the world of sin and sacrifice arise. From this era, the world of sin and sacrifice does arise. The world is an attempt to prove your innocence while cherishing attack. Its failure lies in that you feel guilty, but without understanding why. Its attempt's failure lies in what you still feel guilty, but without understanding why. Effects are seen as separate from their source and seem to be beyond you to control or prevent. What is kept apart in this way can never join. So as soon as the belief, attack can be projected outside the mind where the belief arose. So we believe that ideas can leave their source, that somehow attack can leave our minds and not be in our minds where it arose. From this area, the world of sin and sacrifice does arise. So as an attempt to prove your innocence while cherishing attack. Its failure lies in that you still feel guilty, though without understanding why. So we feel this deep guilt and we're not sure why, because we've hidden the fact that we've separated from our source, and that's the basis of our identity, and that's the source of guilt. Effects are seen as separate from their source. They seem to be beyond what you control or prevent. As kept apart in this way can never join. So we think there's an external world with all these effects that we can't control. This keeps the idea of a separation very real in our minds, and we can't heal. The cause and effect are one, not separate. Pure formless awareness of perfect love wills you learn what always has been true, that it extended you as part of itself. And this must still be true because ideas do not leave their source. Master, you learn what always has been true. So it's just asking us to learn only what is always true, which is that it extended you as part of itself, and this must still be true because ideas do not leave their source. So you're an idea in the mind of God. You are in this awareness. You are the awareness of perfect love, and ideas don't leave their source, so you must still be in your source's mind. You are still the pure formless awareness of perfect love, and that whole experience, that whole awareness is yours. Such is creation's law. Such is the law of being. Much better, I think. Such is the law of being, that each mind, each idea the mind conceives only adds to its abundance and never takes away. So can't really lose, only gain. These true ideas add to its abundance, which is all in the mind. I'm not talking about physical abundance. Never takes this away. This is as true of what is idly wished as what is truly willed, because the mind can wish to be deceived. It cannot make it be what it is not. And this is as true of what is idly wished as what is truly willed, because the mind can wish to be deceived. It cannot make it be what it is not. So even in illusions, the idea, it's a false idea, adds to the falsity. It adds to the ego. Make itself be what it is not. To believe ideas can leave their sources, to invite illusions to be true. Without success. Whenever will success be possible in trying to deceive the extension of perfect love? You can't really deceive yourself, even if you think you can. At some point, the deception will be revealed and let go of, and that is then part of your awakening. What's he saying here? The mind ideas are in the mind. Each idea really adds to your abundance and doesn't take away. And to believe ideas can leave their source is to invite illusions to be true, not success. So you can't really deceive yourself, believe that something is really outside of your mind when it's in your mind. So all of these illusions fail in the end, and the truth is revealed to us, which is in our awakening. So the miracle of the correction is possible when cause and consequence are brought together and not kept separate. The healing of effect without the cause can merely shift effects to other forms, and this isn't release. So we're not really healing the cause, we're trying to work on the consequences. Most healing works this way. So think of allopathic medicine, trying to heal the body of some sickness, saying that there's a physical cause, trying to treat that with an operation, a drug, a procedure, whatever it is, and saying that that's really going to be healing. So not really identifying the true cause, which is in the mind. Problem is in the mind is the belief in separation and the idea of sin and guilt, which then demands the punishment of sickness. The healing of effect without the cause can merely shift effects to other forms. So what happens then, if we try for a magical solution, it shifts the problem to another form, and we get sick again, or we have difficulties in other areas of our lives because we haven't really healed the problem, which is in our minds. And this is not release or healing in any way. So pure formless awareness of perfect love's extension could never be content with less than full awakening and escape from guilt. So we can never really be content unless we really wake up from the nightmare of separation, escape from guilt entirely. But otherwise, he still demands that he must make some sacrifice, and so denies that everything is his. Unlimited by loss of any kind. And so there's no loss, no sacrifice in the thought system, pure form source, perfect love, or in its extension. Tiny sacrifice is just the same as effect as is the whole idea of sacrifice. Okay? So any idea of sacrifice is exactly the same as any sacrifice, no matter how big it seems to be. Because if loss in any form is possible, then pure formless awareness of perfect love's extension is made incomplete, not itself. So one idea of sacrifice, one idea of loss makes pure formless awareness of perfect love incomplete and therefore not itself. So one idea of sacrifice sabotages yourself and brings another self into your mind. Nor will it know itself. Or recognize its true awareness. It has forsworn its father. Forsworn its source. Forsworn, it is denied. It's like that. Forsworn is a bit old-fashioned. Has denied its father, its source, and itself, made them both. Denied its source and its capital self, should we make that, and made them both enemies in hate. So we believe in sacrifice in any way. We deny who we really are. We deny our source. We deny our true self, and we make them enemies in our illusion of hate. All pretty disastrous, really. So that's why it's saying you must choose to heal your mind entirely of all beliefs in sacrifice, loss, sickness, death. They must all go in order to be healed. So illusions serve the purpose they were made to serve, and from their purpose, they derive whatever meaning they seem to have. Pure formless awareness of perfect love gave to all illusions that were made another purpose. And another purpose to all illusions were made would justify to justify a correction, no matter what form. What form they took. In every correction, all healing lies. In every correction lies all healing. For pure formless one is perfect love. You've answered to them all as one. Answered. So in every miracle correction lies all healing. For pure formless one has answered them all as one. So one problem really, which is the idea of separation, whatever form it takes, one answer, but none of it's true and only oneness is true. And what is one to it must be the same. You believe what is the same is different. You deceive yourself. What is the same is different. And then you deceive yourself. Your formless one as perfect love calls one will be forever one, not separate. It's kingdom. It's kingdom of heaven is the domain. It's united. Its awareness is united. Its awareness is united. Thus it is. Its awareness is united. In its being. And so it will forever. And so it will be forever. A miracle. So say every correction, every miracle is the archetype of all miracles. You do it once, for one correction brings about the pure formless awareness, perfect love, brings that into awareness and answers all problems. It's the same process, no matter what problem seems to be showing up. Restores our mind to the truth that this oneness, this one awareness is forever one, so forever united in its being, and so it will be forever. And there's no change, there's no shift, it's eternal. So the miracle but calls, miracle correction only calls your ancient name. You will recognize because the truth is in your memory. And instead of name, we make that self. Cause your ancient self. You'll recognize because the truth is in your memory. And to the self, companion calls for his release and yours. State of pure formless awareness is shining on the extension of perfect love. Deny it not. Do not deny it so that you may be released. Each instant is the extension of pure formless, extension of perfect love, reborn until it chooses not to die again. And every wish to hurt it chooses death instead of what? So we wish to hurt another, we choose death. Instead of what? Source wills for it. So what its source is aware of. For it. In every instant, each moment, instant is a moment. Every moment offers life to it because its source is aware that it loves. So we're called to release. Each moment is offered to us to find this release. If we deny this release, we wish to hurt others, we choose death instead of life. But every moment offers life to us because our source is aware that we live. So our source is the very essence of life. That awareness is life. And when we merge, when we become one with that awareness becomes our awareness, then we know that we live and that death is an illusion. So in crucifixion is redemption laid. Redemption is given in crucifixion. Redemption is inherent in crucifixion. It's a better way of saying it. So the healing is not needed where there is no pain or suffering. The healing is only needed where there's pain or suffering. Letting go is the answer to attack of any kind. So is attack deprived of its effects? So attack is deprived of its effects, and hate is answered in the name of love. To you to whom it has been given to save the extension of pure formless awareness, to save the extension of perfect love from crucifixion and from hell and death, all glory be forever. All glory is magnificence. All magnificence be forever. You have power to save, to awaken. Extension of pure form, extension of perfect love, because its source will that it be so. And in your hands, all awakening does lie, to be both offered and received as one. So redemption is inherent in crucifixion. Letting go is the answer. When we feel like we've been crucified, letting go is the answer to attack of any kind. And so attack is deprived of all its effects. Hate is answered in the name of love. And saying all magnificence, all glory be forever. Because your destiny is to save yourself and save the whole extension of perfect love from the ideas of victimhood and death. And that is a magnificent purpose. We have the power to awaken the extension of perfect love. The source will that it be so. In your hands, all awakening does lie, to be both offered and received as one. So we're responsible, in other words, for our own awakening, and we can help others to awaken as well through this healing process. And healing is really letting go of all thoughts of attack and fear and sacrifice and death, and restoring our mind into the truth of perfect love, pure formless awareness, perfect love, which is what we truly are. Okay, moving swiftly on to use the power pure formless awareness, perfect love has given you as it and have it used as natural, as it would have it used as natural. It's not arrogant to be as it extended you. Not to make use of what it gave to answer all its extension's mistakes and set it free. But it is arrogant to lay aside power that it gave and choose a little senseless wish instead of what it wills. Gift of perfect love to you is limitless. There is no circumstance it cannot answer, and no problem which is not resolved within its gracious light or awareness. Yeah, no problem. Thanks, Ariana. So we must use this awareness, use our power to heal all mistakes and set us free and everyone else free. Arrogant to lay aside, to deny the power that he gave, and choose a little senseless wish instead of what it was. Gift of perfect love to you is limitless. There's no circumstance it cannot answer, no problem which is not resolved within its gracious awareness. So this awareness can do anything. There's no order of difficulty in miracles. It can heal any problem if we acknowledge it, if we believe it. So abide in peace. A pure formless awareness of perfect love would have you be. Wants you to be. And be the means whereby your companions find the peace in which your wishes are fulfilled. Let us unite in bringing blessing to the world of sin and death. What can save? Each one of us can save us all. Can save us, awaken each one of us. Can awaken us all. There is no difference among extensions of perfect love. Unity that specialness denies will save them all. For what is one can have no specialness. So what is one can have no specialness, and everything belongs to each one. Each of them. No wishes lie between a companion and his own. No idle wishes can come. So we idly wish we have our own desires which seem to separate us from our brothers, our companions. To get from one is to deprive them all. And yet to bless only one gives blessing to them all as one. Yet to bless only one gives blessing to them all as one. So it's one thought system. We bless one person, that blesses everyone because we're in unconditional love, and that radiates a blessing to everyone, even if they don't perceive it. It's going into the ether, into the quantum field, and it gives blessing to everyone. So saying, yeah, in this paragraph, there's no difference. We are all the same. There's no specialness. And so this teaching will awaken all of us as one, because we're already the same. The truth belongs to all of us. So everything true. That is true. Not really a thing, it's formless. But we use the word everything that's true belongs to each of them. And so in this awareness, no idle wishes can separate us. We don't wish to gain from anyone. To get from one is to deprive them all. Get, to take. That would be better. To take from one is to deprive them all. Okay, so if we take from any of our brothers, we are actually taking from all of them, and that thought and affects the whole. But if we bless with unconditional love, one, then we bless them all. And so, last paragraph, your ancient self, true self, Christ self, belongs to everyone, as theirs does to you. Call on your companion's name, your brother's name. Identity. Your brother's, your companion's identity. Your former soreness, a perfect love will answer. For on it you call. We call, when we call on our companion's identity, we call on pure formless awareness of perfect love. Could it refuse? To answer when it has already answered all we call on it? Correction can make no change at all, but it can make what has always been, what always has been true. In true, be recognized by those who know it not, and those who do not know it. And by this little gift of truth that led to be itself, by this little gift of truth, by this little gift of truth let to be itself, allowed, little gift of truth allowed to be itself, extension of pure form, extension of perfect love is allowed to be itself. And all extension free to call upon the identity of formless awareness, perfect love as one. Calls your ancient identity. Keep that as self. It's in the name of God as your identity, yourself, otherwise known as the Christ. It's saying, call on this name, call on this identity only, and then you will know yourself as what you truly are, and free everyone to be that same self, the I am presence. Well, the key message of the section is that projection is outside, that ideas don't leave their source. So see outside me, my perception is really projection, my own beliefs. And this realization, heal, comes receive these beliefs. And become aware of these beliefs. And in my mind, aware of these beliefs and let them go. And healing is the mind. And not the body. Belief in separation, not the body. My bodily healing may occur and heal my mind. And in the middle sections, it's really one. Cause and effect. An invitation to correct my beliefs in my mind, and the key my awakening in my true self, and I can help others to awaken to this same redeeming self and so through and so healing is more is about know myself more. Process helps me to know myself. And to know myself more fully. Okay, I guess that'll be so. The key message of the section: ideas don't leave their source, so what seems to be outside me and my perception is really a projection of my own beliefs. It's realization I can heal my mind because I can become aware of these beliefs and let them go. Well, healing is therefore well, healing is healing of my mind, its belief in separation, and not really my body. Not my body, although the bodily healing may occur when I heal my mind. I can perceive that all my illusions are an invitation to correct my beliefs and heal my mind. I have a key to my awakening, to my true self. And I can help others to awaken to the same redeeming self and awareness. So healing is a process that helps me to know myself and the one self that is everyone's true self. Help me to know same redeeming identity and awareness. Know myself and the one self that is everyone's true self more fully. Yeah, so personalized executive summary. So check, all good. So I think we're good to go. So that's a nice section. I hope you enjoyed that session. Thanks to Sally and Iona for participating. And yeah, wish you good practicing of this profound truth of the laws of healing, and much love and healing. Thanks for listening, and namaste. Which means the divine source of all healing in me acknowledges and honors that same source of healing in you.